What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at Trash Deck Thursday. If you're new here and you're not sure what it is, it's kind of where we take the deck of the week and pair it against its worst matchup. This week I decided to do things a little bit different. Today we're going to be taking a look at Ace again for the Trash Deck Thursday, but we're going to be implementing the restrictions that are on the list. So the list is going to be built a bit different. I just want to see how it competes in the meta still. So, the restrictions that we have applied are we can only run one Edward Newgate, we can only run one of the Blocker Marco, and one Radical Beam. So to implement those changes, I decided to drop 3 Radical Beam for a Fire Fist, and then 2 more Guard Point Fire Fist, just so that way we kind of have some extra board clearing potential and we can be a little bit extra aggressive. And then of course Guard Point, because it's the next best thing compared to Radical Beam. For the dropping of the 3 Marco, I decided to add in 4 Blenheim, and I also cut, I cut something else. Oh, I cut one of the Newgates. So I dropped 3 of the Marco and 1 of the Newgates for 4 Blenheim, just because it is searchable off of Ezo as well as Whitebeard Pirates, so you still can get a blocker. It doesn't have a counter, unfortunately, but it's kind of the next best thing as far as being a searchable blocker. And then I dropped 3 of the Edward Newgate, as I said, for 1 Blenheim. And then I added in a 4th Jozu and then a 4th Ace. I added in the 4th Ace just so that way the list could be aggressive. With losing so many aspects of defense, with not being able to, you know, bring back Marco and things like that, I kind of decided that I wanted to play it as aggro as I could and kind of control situations and stuff. So this is kind of what we're working with today. We're going to see how it stacks up against the meta in both current and following the restrictions list. So there'll be 1 game with restrictions implemented and then 1 game with restrictions implemented, but against someone that's just playing OPO3 in general. So thank you guys for watching today's video. If you do enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode of Final Standings Friday. Alright guys, so we're going to be playing Ace. We're going to see exactly how it can go post-restriction. Thinking about our curve, I will go first because I want to be able to see a good amount of cards. So we do have Seaquake, we do have a blocker, and we do have the Marco, which means that we can kind of disrupt Zoro's board. So it's probably going to be good to keep this hand. There's not really much that I think we're going to do. So I think we'll just pass. Next turn we can do the Seaquake into the blocker and also have a swing. Kind of go from there. So we did get an Ezo too, which is pretty good. So I think the first thing we'll do is a 5k swing. We won't get rid of any events. And then we'll just use Seaquake, play down our blocker, and go from there. So we'll go Seaquake into the blocker, and then we'll pass, kind of see if Ace can do what it's supposed to do. So the 5k swing we will take. We don't need to worry about any triggers, so we have a guard point. So there's an Atmos, so we do need to worry about the Atmos come next turn, but aside from that, I think we're in a pretty solid spot. I don't want to quite play this Marco yet until he drops a smaller character, and we do have the Ezo as well. So what we could do is we could go Ezo into Marco, which sounds pretty good to me. We can grab Ace, that way we have something to play on 7, and then we can play Marco down. But the first thing we'll do is we will swing 5, just in case he hits any events, then we don't have to worry about anything else being kind of KO'd and dealt with. So, and if he chooses to swing with his Atmos next turn, then we have, you know, swings that can go into it, because we can play down Ace and go from there. So we'll just play down the Marco, and we're going to pass. We don't have any Dawn open, but come next turn, there's a few things that we can do. Our opponent is at 6, so next turn he'll be at 8. So coming back into our turn, we should be in a decent spot. So there's the Vista. So we can't bring back the Marco, sadly, but it did pull out a threat, which is good. So there's a 7k swing that's probably going to come. So we do Fire Fist. So there's a 6k swing. The 6k we're going to take, and then this 7k we'll just block. And then now what we can do is we can kind of play the long game. Let's see. How do I want to go about this? Because we could play down our own Marco, then have 2 Dawn open. That way we have access to guard point. That seems pretty good, because then we can get rid of the Vista too. And then what we can do is we can just do a 6k swing, force him to burn a card, and then next turn we have access to our own guard point as well. So, does not seem too bad. So he has an 8, so we do have to be weary of the following turn. I think we'll be okay. So there is a buggy. He gets his 1 of Radical Beam. So he does have Fire Fist in hand, which is something that we need to keep in mind. He can get rid of a 5k and a 4k. So he drew a guard point. And there's an Ezo, so Fire Fist. So he has Fire Fist, guard point, Radical Beam, and something else. So we know he has all events. So he's going to have to take some swings next turn, depending on how he wants to go through with this. This 7k swing. Let's see. The 7k swing we'll take. We do get Fire Fist, which is good. So we can actually KO a character with up to 5,000. So we can actually use it to get rid of the buggy. Potentially save ourselves from 1 more swing. He does have 4 events, so he can use 2. Let's see. I think what we'll do is we'll get rid of... Man, how do I want to do this? I think we're going to take this. And then he has 2 open. So he has Fire Fist, Radical Beam, Guard Point, something. So Radical Beam and Guard Point we can force him to kind of use. We're in a decent spot for the next couple go-arounds, so... Okay, so he chooses to pass, which was expected. So we could play our own Edward Newgate and then have a swing, which doesn't seem too bad. Or we could Fire Fist, pop this. We gain plus 3k and double strike. That doesn't seem too bad either, and then we leave 3 open. So I think what we'll do... I think we'll go 8k to force him to burn one of his counters. And then if he does choose to get rid of it, then we have an 8k double strike that can go at him. So, okay, so he chose to use the guard point. So we know he has Radical Beam in hand, so we can go to 9. So this is what we'll do. We'll use this. We'll go double attack. So we'll go 8k, double attack. This will force him to get rid of the Radical Beam. Unless he chooses to take. So he chooses to take, which is fine. And then we're just going to pass. So we do have 1 life. We are kind of in lethal, so we do need to be cautious. But I think we have enough counter to be able to live. So there's a 7k swing. Let's see. I think we'll just counter out of this. So there's a Machino. There's another 7k swing. So he could go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In which case we can get to 10. So I think what we have to do is take this. Okay, it's a 2k. Then if he dumps it all on his leader, then we still have a decent chance. So we'll go Makino, Otama, and then we'll just get rid of Makino. So he has one open. So we could clear a lot of his board right now. But I don't think that that's going to do very much. Unless off this Whitebeard we can find a blocker, potentially. We do get Ezo. So Ezo, we can find a blocker. So we can play our blocker down. And then Makino, we can just swing into here. So they let it go. So we have 6 open. We can just swing. And then we can do a leader swing. And then we can leave one open so that way we have access to guard point. And then hopefully he's not able to full blast. He does have the Fire Fist in hand, which you do have to keep in mind. So I think he just slaps all of his Dawn on here and wins. So yeah, it's a 12k swing, and the most we can get to is 8, and that's it. So seems as though with not having access to the Marcos, it definitely is a little bit more awkward than anything, but I think we can try one more, see how it goes. So we are going first. Let's see. We have Buggy for events, and then we also have Izu for search. I'm okay with this. So we'll go Izo. And let's see. We'll grab Marco. That way it gives us something a little bit better to play. And then next turn we can kind of not go aggressive, but we can have kind of a decent swing of things. So we'll go Buggy. Buggy can grab us the... We'll grab the Flame Emperor just so we have it for later in the game since we do only play 2. And then we'll play another Buggy, grab a Radical Beam. He is a dual colored leader, so I could play the Makino down, but I don't feel like there's a solid need to, so I think we'll just swing 6 and go from there. Yeah, against Zoro, it's weird not being able to have access to the multiple Whitebeards in back-to-back turns and only having one, as well as the Marcos. It means that you have to, deal with some other blockers, things like that. So, but against Arlong, it seems like we're doing okay. So, there's a 7k swing. So the 7k swing, and then he plays the Prospero. So we will take the swing. Thankfully he can't attack with the Prospero yet. And being at 5, let's see. I could play Buggy, or I could get the Marco out so that way I have the presence. I think I'll get the Marco out, and then that way the following turn I can go Ace and go from there. Let's do a 5k swing. Start to kind of build up our hand a little bit. I could go blocker into the 1-drop and then leave some down open, but I feel like I'm in a situation where I can safely kind of be more aggressive. So we're going to be at 7 next turn, which means if he does swing with the Prospero, we can swing at it, and then we can play things like Ace if we wanted to, or we can even Flame Emperor and go from there. So this 7k swing, I think we're gonna have to take it. It sucks that Buggy does not have counter. So there's another 5k swing. So we'll go no blocker, and then I don't really feel like taking this, so I think we'll just have to discard the Makino and go from there. But he is at 6, so there is some green characters that he can play that are 6. So let's see what our opponent decides to do. He's playing the Kurobi, which can tap our characters, so it's something we do need to be careful of. So there's the Trafalgar Law. So there's Law with Killer. Kind of had a feeling that that was coming. And then there's a Dawn on the Killer. So, I can Flame Emperor, get rid of the Law, and then have a double strike attack. So I think what we'll do first is we'll just do a basic 6k swing just to see if he wastes the Killer. Because if he chooses to waste the Killer, then we can get rid of the Law and have a double strike 8k, possibly 9k if we choose to get rid of a card. So, okay, so he just chooses to counter out of it, which is fine. I'm still going to use the Flame Emperor just so that way this forces the block. He is going to get one card, but at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about that. Oh, so he chooses to take. Interesting. He does play yellow, which has a lot of triggers, so it makes sense. I just was more expecting him to block and get the draw off of that, but that's okay. So we do have a couple events that we can discard if this Marco does get KO'd, and then we also have Ace, which means we can have back-to-back Ace turns. Being at 9 next turn, we could go 7 into 2, so that way we have at least one blocker on board. We will see what our opponent decides to do. So it can still be aggressive and it can still be defensive, but I feel like with the loss of Ace, I mean not Ace, of Marco and Whitebeard and Radical Beam, kind of gives you a situation where you kind of have to play a lot more aggressive than anything. So there's a 7k swing. So he does play down the Prospero again. We're just going to let this go. We'll use the card action. I think we're better off. We do play 4 guard point and only 1 radical beam. I think we're safe to get rid of the guard point. So there's a Charlotte Pudding. So we can start putting some aggression next turn. There's another Killer. There's a Dawn on both. So that is going to be a little bit annoying. I think what we're going to do, honestly, is probably just go 7 into 2 just to apply some more pressure. So we'll just go minus. Not that it really matters because the minus wasn't going to do much. So we'll do a 6k swing. So it forces the block to draw. And then we'll do a 5k swing. See if he chooses to block or drop a card for it. So he chooses to block, which is fine, and then we'll just do a 7k swing. Chooses to block, as expected. So he only really gained 1 card off the blockers, so... and then we'll get rid of the Ezo to play a Blenheim for the blocker, just so that way we have something to work with. And then next turn, if he doesn't KO the Ace, we have a back-to-back Ace, which is good. And we do have 1k counter as well as a blocker, so... he does have to commit quite a lot in order to kind of try and get rid of this Ace. We don't have access to the Radical Beam, sadly, but I feel like at the situation we're in right now, it's not the end of the world. We got solid draws. We were able to get rid of his Law. That way he can't bounce things back. So... I think we're in a pretty decent spot right now. So a live K swig. Yeah, I think we'll just block. He can commit Dawn to swing on the Ace, but if he swings exactly 7, we can counter that easy if he chooses not to. So yeah, there's a 5k swing. The 5k swing, we'll just dump the Ezo just so that way we can keep some life advantage going. He is playing yellow, so definitely is something that we need to keep in mind. let's see. So we can play another ace down, which is what we'll do. So we'll go minus and then I guess minus, and then we'll just go 7k into the 2. It lets it go. See what card he gets. He doesn't get any character, which is nice. And then we can actually leave some dawn, a dawn open in order to use our radical beam. So we'll just do a 5k swing. And we'll do another 5k. Because he's going to have to continuously dump cards or block all of the attacks, so I'm fine with that. And then we'll just do a 7k swing. And then next turn we do have another ace as well, so he is going to be at, he's already at 10, so he can play Big Mom if he chooses to, which I think Big Mom does work in this if he plays the 10 drop. If he does, he can add a life and burn one of ours, but that'll be all of his dawn, and then we still have such a huge board that we should be okay. Well, that's assuming Big Mom can be played. I'm not quite sure. Let's check. Alright, I'll have to find it later. Okay, so our opponent ends up conceding. So when it comes down to it, Ace kind of still has pressure to apply, but on the defense side, it's super awkward. So you might have to build your list to be more aggro than anything. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. So if you did enjoy today's video, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode of Final Standings Friday.